Though the agenda included a resolution to form a search committee to identify a new district superintendent, that was not the outcome of Tuesday's Board of Education meeting. The board eventually tabled the resolution after some members complained the resolution was on the agenda too soon, and that the process the committee would enact should be in place before the committee is formed.
And we may eventually get to this point. I would have just thought that you would have brought it to the board. We would have talked about it and said, yes, this is the way we want to proceed. Put a resolution on, or let's proceed in another way. I have a lot of questions about how this committee would function. If it functions outside of FOI, then what's confidential and what isn't? Obviously, as Mr. Pia said, once you begin a search, it becomes confidential. So at what point do we say it's not confidential up until September 15th and then it becomes? When you meet an executive session, it's much easier to determine what's confidential. You know that that is, and you can't discuss anything. So who determines when this committee is meeting an executive session or not? I guess it doesn't. So when is it confidential and when is it not? And what precludes anybody on the committee from divulging anything it wants to the public? So that's one of the questions I have. I also just don't understand why we're doing this so early. I think that since this board hasn't met at all to discuss this, but the first thing we're doing is putting on a resolution that puts it all out of the public view, I think that sends a wrong message to the public. So.
But Vice President of the Board, Jerry Pia, explained that several steps must take place before a decision on superintendents can be made.
Superintendent search, there's 4 pieces to it. We're going to have focus groups, which includes everybody in town. And, you know, we meet all kinds of organizations, community organizations, PT councils, many organizations you can think of. So that's very important for everybody to know. We need to have a calendar. We work backwards probably from July 1st backwards to figure out when we're going to do everything. We have to hire a consultant or a consultant firm, or we can do consultants with, you know, for the first part of it, and then a single consultant, then we can bring a consultant firm to do the search for the final superintendent. And right now what we're going to do is we're going into executive session to discuss getting an interim. It could be an acting for a while, and then it can be an interim we could bring in after the acting, or the acting could be here for till next July, and then we'll bring in a superintendent. So that's the process. 4 pieces to this.
Upon the board's return to the special meeting following an executive session, they announced that next Tuesday evening the Board of Education will meet at 6 p.m. for a special meeting when they will appoint an acting superintendent.
All right, I would want to say that next Tuesday night we will have a special meeting with the Board of Education at 6 p.m. When we will be making an appointment of an acting superintendent on a short-term basis, someone who knows the district and will be able to continue the flow of work. And then on the 21st of June, we will have a special meeting in public where we will discuss the process for selection of an interim superintendent and the process for selecting the superintendent of schools.